All
Yeah,
right. So I'm Malcolm Holman,
I'm David Dayan.
and this is our project, Climby Climbers. So first, this is just sort of an overall about our project where we ended up. We developed an app that is for climbers of all different skill levels. That includes what we delineated into beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And then the goal of the app ultimately is to provide valuable information to climbers about what they want, and that can include outdoor climbing safety, strength and conditioning, technique, and various other useful information. And then so here's a link to our updated prototype that took into account some user input. Actually, I should, okay, notice it. Just this will get booted up. So if you can see from the home screen, it's divided into those three different skill levels that I mentioned before. There's help text underneath to indicate what potential skill level a given user might fall into. So for example, let's say I'm a beginner climber who's just looking for basic information. It will take me to this beginner page, and then it will take me to an end page that will have like a useful blurb of information. And if a given user wants more information than that, then there's external resources linked at the bottom of the screen. Or we could say, for example, I'm an advanced climber who wants to learn more about hangboarding. Again, it'll give a blurb about what the hangboard is, how to use it. And again, if this user were to want more information, they would be able to go into the resources tab. And then a final update we made after some of our user interviews, after feedback we received from people just trying our Figma, was to have some sort of setting page on the home screen. So here's the setting page. You can adjust your about you and change your skill level. And then all these pages, you can navigate back to the home. But yeah, so there's also, go to intermediate, outdoor, again, more information, more resources. So it's sort of it's simple, but it is effective and consistent across all different skill levels. So it's a pretty similar user experience, regardless of what your skill level is. So that's our Figma and our sort of overall prototype and how the app is formatted. And then moving on I'll pass it off to David for our project evolution.
So in the beginning, we mainly prototyped still along the lines of having three distinct user groups: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But we didn't really narrow our scope down. So as you can see below, just our initial project sketches from milestone 1 and 2. We had maybe a similar structure to what we just showed you in our final prototype, but certain features were included where it was like tracking progress or specific like exercises where it really just increased the scope a little bit too much for what we were asked to do and what we had time to do in this class. But our goal remained the same. It was still to provide a service that enabled climbers to improve their abilities, and then whether that was through training, technique, or skill development. So I guess we can go to the next slide.
Yeah. And then here are just some scenarios that we envisioned when we were first prototyping. And they're sort of similar to how, if you said like in the prototype, a climber would interact with the app. It sort of hones in on specific aspects of climbing that a given user might want to learn more about. So for example, if they're like, oh, I wish I like all of these are basically just they're struggling with a specific aspect of climbing or want to know more information about a specific aspect of climbing, and they can use the app to find that information. And then for milestone 3, this is sort of where we began to refine our idea into a more final product that so like this final product sort of like combined the information we got from users. And so that sort of was when we decided to split the app into 3 separate sections for each difficulty, which is kind of like the crux of the design of our app. That was like the biggest shift we made from our original prototypes to our later prototypes, or not prototypes, later ideas or beginning ideas to later ideas, finally resulting in this prototype. So then here's the milestone 3 prototype. I don't like I can kind of just skim this for the sake of time.
Yeah,
We might
definitely
we might
just go over
yeah, we
it.
might be close to going over. I won't even present it, but basically it's a little less colorful. There's a little less information on each of the pages. There's not that settings wheel that was useful, but it is sort of similar to what it ended up being. Most users did not have large complaints that caused us to have to rework our entire design. I think we probably have to move pretty quickly through the rest of this. So, yeah, this is pretty straightforward. Our final prototype is the one that we just went through. It's sort of after users were using the first prototype, they found that like it wasn't the pages were a little boring, so we added some more color to them, which sort of is more eye catching. We added that settings wheel, and we also added some more information to those end pages as I just showed the original one. And Dave, if you want to just take this
Yeah,
one.
so our strength, I would say, were the craft design principles, contrast, alignment, and such. As you saw that those changes really reflected between our milestone 3 and our final prototype, as you saw earlier. Probably our challenges in the next slide, we kind of outlined that it was the scope. We really want to add a couple features like climbing buddy search or more tracking, maybe more interaction. And then also considering we only had 6 test subjects total, we don't really know how our application scales.
Yeah, all great points. And then if you want to take this one too.
Yeah, and then so long term, obviously, you'd be implementing the app, implementing real features and code. We'd want to add real UI elements, but our prototype really gives us a good place to start on that. And then progress tracking, like I said, climbing buddy finders is a long-term feature. Climbing strengths, having more resources, having more vetted sources for exercises, workouts, and then also like reliable technique that a professional would be comfortable learning from through our app. Is the content curation is very important. So I think that's about it for our project.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Great. I'll stop the recording.